Both sets of minutes are unanimously approved. Our consent agenda tonight is items that are administrative actions where no additional discussion is needed. When and if the recommendations in the staff report become the action of the commission, then we will also have a call for objection or comment made on these items, but we won't have public comment. Do we have any motions or questions for the consent agenda item?
I would just move that are you looking for changes?
Or
Okay.
a motion?
I just move that we approve the consent agenda item.
Okay, do we have a
Seconded.
second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Consent agenda is approved. There are no administrative items tonight, but we do have two items on our legislative session, which will each have a public hearing. The first item being Springville City is seeking to amend Springville City Code Section 11-6-113 pertaining to off-street parking requirements, and we have a presentation.
Nice seeing everyone. It's been a while since I've been here.
Yes.
So as part of a recent development proposal for a new medical clinic, it kind of came to our attention that we're really requiring a lot of parking for medical and professional offices is what it comes down to. Our requirement is 1 per 150 square feet of floor area. When it's part of a mixed-use shopping center, it can be one stall per 225 square feet of floor area. Our minimum standard for parking stall dimensions are 9 feet by 20 feet in length with a minimum 24-foot aisle width for two-way traffic. This illustration is showing the 3 medical offices off of 450 South behind the Zeppies is in the upper right-hand corner. This is kind of showing you what is developed under our current standard for a medical professional office. You can see the parking is more than half empty. I know that's probably not at a peak period, but it's never been full, so that kind of warranted us taking a step back and saying maybe we should look and see what the standard is and what we should require. So, based on that information, we did some surrounding comparisons to the entities that you see there. Springville is the most restrictive. The average tends to be around the 1 stall per 250 square feet of medical or professional office area. The ITE, which is the Institute of Transportation Engineers parking generation report, shows it at 1 per 250 as well, and they do all the studies at the peak demands and for different various uses. So with that being said, staff recommends recommends changing our parking requirement for that use to be more in line with what's nationally standard, and that is the 1 per 250 is what we're recommending, as well as the parking stall dimensions. As you can see there, Springville City is the only city in the same surrounding cities that requires a 20-foot length stall. This has not really been a big issue for me, other than every time a site plan is submitted, it is always designed at the 18 feet, and we have to tell them, take it back and go add additional feet, which is problematic for them, but is it really needed for us? So that's kind of the question, and we looked at it, and with the cost of parking and stuff like that, would be in line with reducing it to the 18 feet.
You probably don't know what the normal length of a minivan or a truck.
I drive a pretty full-size truck, and I looked tonight, and I've parked her perfectly. Her being her name's Sissy. You're looking at me like her, and she's
Truck is a her.
ours is a it is. That's why her name's
Vehicles
Sissy.
involved.
Okay.
But yeah, my truck still has 2 feet easily, and it's not overhanging at all over the curb. So we can even pull up an aerial. I was looking at Smith's and a lot of the aerials, and most cars are compact or just average size, and there's probably a good 4 to 5 feet of extra length in each stall not being utilized. So people like me, yes, I would love a longer stall, but I have no problem overhanging if I need a little extra room, or take a little more extra room out of the other stall. I don't know. If you drive a really big truck, you'd have to do that.
Looks like a minivan's about 17 feet
Yeah.
in length.
I think the average car is, they said 12 to 14. I should have included that for you.
I
But-
think the data from the other cities is very helpful and
Right.
shows us that if we make this change, it's not gonna make, we're gonna just fall in line with the other cities. And it
Right, I'm
makes
sure
sense.
you've parked in all of those cities
Yep.
somewhere and have probably not noticed a difference.
Most of the time.
Most of the time. There are sometimes, yes.
There are some drivers, for which I notice a lot of things
A
with their parking.
well-designed parking lot, though, you should be able to get around just fine. But that's my presentation, and staff's recommendation is to amend both of those to the 250 and the 18.
Okay. Any questions?
No.
All right. Thank you.
Oh, I do have one, I'm sorry.
Aha, there it is.
11-6-113 deals with both the length of the stall and the parking demand as
Yes.
well?
Yes.
Okay, because the recommended motion didn't include that, so I think as we make that motion, I would just,
Oh, yes.
Maybe I could just-
Sorry, if you could update that for me, I appreciate that.
I'm okay to make a motion if we're ready.
No, we do.
We need to do a public hearing.
Oh, that's right, sorry.
I appreciate your enthusiasm, though.
Thank you, I will sit back.
Do we have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The public hearing is now open if anyone from the public would like to address the commission on this item. You are
Get up here.
first in line.
Yeah, I appreciate this proposed change. I represent Canyon View Medical Group, and we're the ones who put in the request to build a new clinic on our existing site. We also own the vacant lot behind the clinic that's down here on Main Street. As we look to build, we found that our parking under the old code was going to require us to build somewhere around 120 stalls. We currently have 48 paved stalls with 13 in the gravel for about 61 total. And if you've ever been to our clinic, you've probably never had any trouble getting parking. So we looked at that and thought, wow, 59 empty parking stalls just sitting there all the time didn't seem right. So we spoke to them, and they said that they were going to make this recommendation. So we hope that you'll continue this recommendation, make this change, so it will give us a better option in creating our new clinic. It's still going to be quite a few extra stalls for us, somewhere around, I can't remember exactly, but with this new ratio, but we'll still be more than what we need, but it'll certainly get us closer and allow us to actually make the build, whereas before it probably wasn't going to work out unless we dig down and make a parking structure, which would be certainly cost prohibitive. So anyways, that's my part of this, and so I hope and certainly support the idea of making this amendment and this change so that we can proceed.
Okay,
That's all I had to say.
thank you.
Thank you very
Did
much.
you said you were from the Canyon View Group, but did you say your name and address?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I'm Casey Warren. I live at 302 East, 700 South, and I'm the COO of Canyon View, so in charge of this project.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Seeing no other members of the public here,
I move to close the public hearing.
Seconded.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any discussion before we take a motion? All right,
Me.
it's all yours.
Thank you. I move that we recommend approval to amend Springville City Code Section 11-6-113 pertaining to required parking amounts for a medical professional office clinic and reducing the minimum stall length to 18 feet and the parking demand to 1 per 250 square feet of floor space.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. We will move to the next item on our agenda, which is Springville City seeking to amend Springville City Code Title 11, Chapter 4, Article 7 pertaining to Main Street South Gateway regulations.
Hi, thank you.
Hello.
So some of you remember the long process of crafting and taking the Main Street South Gateway Zone through adoption. There was a lot of changes and accommodations made through the original process, and then the code was adopted, or code was amended in December of 21, which changed some other height and setback requirements. And through all of that, there came to be a spot on the block where there are overlapping step-back transitional standards, height standards, in such a way that they unintentionally impacted the townhomes that are proposed to be located on the west side of the block. So this text turned out tiny when I exported it from the program we use for some reason. But
Saying,
I
wow,
wasn't
that.
sure that was actually text.
yeah, it says overlap area, but I knew that I couldn't actually read it. So this area here is supposed to be an area where from 5 to 20 feet you can go to 35 feet and then transition through this next area up to the full 45 feet. But there's another provision that says any buildings any buildings or portions of buildings along 300 South shall be located or within 50 feet of the south right-of-way line of 300 South should be limited to 30 feet and 2 stories. But in the amendment in 21, we took this from 2 stories to 3 stories, so those 3-story townhomes could be built with included garages, but didn't catch this overlap. So what you can see this site plan here. What that initial, the original 30-foot height limit within 50 feet of 300 South was intended to do was to provide a transition from this probably 35-foot tall 2-story seniors hotel or Pier 49 pizza building up here on Main Street. But now unintentionally has impacted these townhomes to the rear. And this is, just for your reference, a architectural elevation of one set of those townhomes. So what that would require, essentially, these townhomes are about, somewhere between 20 and 25 feet wide. So 2 to 3, probably 2 townhomes. Actually, we figured out 2 townhomes deep. So these 4 townhomes would only be allowed to go to 2 stories, which would essentially be a main floor with a garage and a small extra room, and then the primary living floor on the second floor. We never intended it to work out this way. We always intended these townhomes to be able to go to their full 3 stories along the full block facade. And again, for your reference, this is a current architectural elevation of the Main Street elevation, showing the way the building does step down to the 300 North the 300 North right-of-way along the north side of the block as it moves to the north with this Pier 49 building over here. So what?
You do have one that looks on from 3rd South, looking
South?
Yeah,
3rd South South.
3rd South South,
Let me see if I do.
looking south. Because right now, what we do is the way it's written, it would have to go 30 feet all the way across.
Correct.
To the very end. Now it would go 30 feet, and then it would jump up to 45,
35.
35. And then
Right. So on the plan, there are no.
To 2 to 3.
So this building up here would be limited to the 30 feet and 2 stories within 50 feet of the south right of
The way
way.
it's written.
It's written, and that would also apply back here. The way the amendment's written, that 30-foot limit, 50 feet back, would stop essentially 200 feet through or halfway through the block. And I can show you that elevation. That's the the west elevation, so the parking lot elevations. That's the south elevation of the south building, and this is the north elevation of the north building. So that's what the north building looks in elevation from the front. So everything flattens,
And then it goes back and then goes up.
yeah. So this is the one-story portion here. This is the two-story portion here. So if I flip back and forth between these two, this one-story portion is this.
Right.
The two-story portion is this. And this is looking from the, oh, that's the plaza elevation. So if you look at the side elevation of the townhomes, this is what you would see from the north elevation of the townhomes.
Okay.
Oh, the doorway there is gonna be facing 300.
Yeah, on the corner ones, they turn and address the
Oh.
adjoining streets.
Okay.
So here you can see that this door
Oh.
turns and faces that street.
And that's the way it will be with the proposed amendment.
Yes, and so it doesn't change it in any way from what you saw and approved and attached to the code.
Yeah.
I mean, there are changes, but they're not wholesale changes to buildings. Obviously, the plans evolved and elevations have evolved. But the plan that you saw a year ago and included as an attachment to the ordinance at that time showed these townhomes in this configuration.
So Josh, was it really just a matter of maybe we just didn't write it quite right?
Well, it's a matter that we had a half a dozen intersecting, overlapping height kind of things going on, and we didn't. We changed one of them and didn't catch that we needed to change another one
Okay.
until they brought their plans in and we went through it, and I said, "Oh." And so here we are.
By having it like mid-block,
Mhm.
I would suppose it's gonna be in the middle of that parking
Correct.
area. But, I mean, that's what the plan is now. If they change the plan, would they be able to have more townhomes that are 3 stories on 300 South?
Potentially,
would.
but right now, this plan already almost doesn't work. They barely have enough parking, and they barely have the space to put that parking in, especially as they're trying to address our comments of things that they missed. So
Genevieve has a good point, because let's say these guys go away and a new pharaoh in Egypt comes in and wants to build down there. Can we go ahead and put in the length from Main Street all the way down to where those townhomes would start?
You could. From my perspective, I don't think that's beneficial, because 200 feet down the block isn't going to affect the way the or the Pier 49 building relates to these buildings across the street, and that was the only real reason for that, is to provide a transition on Main Street from the 1 and 2 story historic.
Where does the
buildings.
200 feet
Yeah,
meet
those-
with in alignment with Pier?
Is it with the
200 feet is way into the cottages. I'll pull up
What's
the
into the cottages? Then
Yeah.
we'd be okay.
I'll pull up the maps. It may be actually past the
past
cottages,
the cottages,
200
that
feet.
house?
to about the driveway of that house, actually. Because that block is about a quarter of a block. So yeah, if we come from this property line-ish here and come back, that's 200 feet there. So it's about to the front of the current store, plus a little bit.
I'm backwards. Where's Pier 49?
Right here.
So it would be about where.
Here are the cottages.
Okay,
Building
gotcha.
starts
So-
right now.
Yeah.
Just past the cottages.
And we anticipate this quarter block is one of those kind of low-hanging fruit for redevelopment as well. So
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
already
that-
zoned for that, right?
That could turn into something, I think, nicer.
If I
and
lived
I think
here,
good.
I would
Okay.
love having townhomes there instead of the.
Is there a setback, point on the south side? Like, can't they, at a certain point in the block, change the elevations on the south side too?
So on the south side, it's not subject to any steps back requirements specific to that block frontage. It is subject to the percent of block face able to go to a certain height, and it's to the same, and then at 50 feet back from that, they could go to the full height, like is shown on the this diagram here.
Gotcha.
Or maybe it's 60. I can't remember what the exact number is, but they could go the full height here. I mean, the full 3 stories for the maximum percentage of the block they're allowed to do so.
And so that percentage is how we avoided having a crossover section in the southwest corner too.
Oh, a conflict in the southwest
Yeah,
corner?
yeah.
Yeah, because there's no step back there. It just says within, you can only go to the 40 feet or 3 stories within a certain percentage of that block, and all of those percentages work out. There's no overlapping step back from 4 South because it's partly across from a commercial zone, but we specifically excluded 4 South from that step
From
back
that
that
step back.
occurs over here
Okay.
on 100 West. It's far more complex than it was when we started, but it works, and I think we're all on the same page with us in the development team.
Okay. Any other questions? All right.
Move to open the public hearing.
We have a second?
Seconded?
All in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing is now open. If there is anyone in the public who would like to address the commission on this item, we invite you to come forward at this time.
Not seeing anyone, I would move to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Public hearing is now closed. Any discussion on this item from the commission?
No. Pretty straightforward
Mm-hmm.
for me.
Nor from here.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I move to recommend approval of the Springville Community Development request to amend the Springville City Code, Title 11, Chapter 4, Article 7, pertaining to the Main Street South Gateway regulations.
All in favor?
We have a second.
Oh, yes. I, heard her second in my head.
Oh, did you?
I knew she was going to say
I was
it.
like, oh,
That's nosy.
I didn't hear.
We do. We do. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Passes unanimously. That concludes our stated agenda items. Is there anything from staff tonight? Okay. Then do we have a motion?
Move to adjourn?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.